So this gimbal has an AI tracker, and in this video you'll find out not only how to use it, but you'll find out whether it's actually legit, if it works, or if it's just a gimmick. So welcome to another video. My name is Mario So, and in this video I'm going to be mostly talking about the tracker on this gimbal. I've already done a review of the Zhiyun Smooth 5S, so if you wanted to get a complete review of this gimbal, you can head over to that video. Before we continue though, I do want to say that although this video is not sponsored, Zhiyun did send me this gimbal to try out and give it my unaltered thoughts, so they don't get to see this video before you do. So this gimbal is pretty much exactly the same thing as that gimbal, with the only difference that this one has the capability to adapt this AI module, unlike the 5S non-AI version. Even though this gimbal feels a little bit bigger, it's actually still a phone gimbal, and it is not as compact as other gimbals because it's meant to be a more professional gimbal for phone filmmaking, because you get a lot more features. And because it's a little bigger, it has bigger motors, it's also a little bit more stable than the other more lightweight phone gimbals. So this is the AI tracker, and surprisingly it does not run on any batteries. It's actually powered by the gimbal itself. You can mount it on the gimbal itself. It's actually quite small, like so, and depending on how you're mounting your phone, you're able to just attach that. So if you're shooting horizontally, just attach this at the top right there. And if you're shooting vertically, like so, you can attach it over to the side. One thing to make sure is that this tracker scanner thing has to be facing you when you're filming. So if I were to film myself, this has to be facing me. So there are three ways to use this tracker. The first one is by just using hand gestures. And what's cool about it is that you can use your native camera app on your phone and not use the app by Zhiyun if you didn't want to. So this gesture enables the OK sign, enables the tracker, and it tells the tracker to start identifying you as a subject to follow. If you wanted to stop that track, you just say stop. If you were using this tracker with Zhiyun's Cami app, you can also start and stop recording on your video using the V sign. And there is one more actually, and that is the photo frame. This one I found it's a little bit harder for the tracker to recognize all the time, but what this does is once you are set up in one section of your frame, if you enable this, then the camera, the tracker is going to try to keep you roughly in that portion of the frame as it tracks you. So this is really good if you wanted to follow the rule of thirds, so you want it to be on 1/3 of the screen. So once you have your gimbal turned on and you have the tracker on the gimbal, you'll see a red light. Once you start doing your gesture, then that light is going to turn green. And once that light's green, it means that it's already tracking you. And once you stop that tracking, then that light is going to turn back to red. So that's a very good way of knowing and telling if the tracker is actually working, if it's actually engaged in tracking you. The second version is a little bit newer, so you have to update your gimbal to the latest firmware. The one that I did it to is version 1.81, I think. Yeah, so version 1.81, and with that firmware, what you can do is you can enable tracking by just pressing the trigger button on your gimbal. And the third way is to be using the Zhiyun Cami app and then just selecting tracking from there. So how good is this tracker, or is it just a gimmick? I found this tracker to be actually quite accurate. Sometimes it can get confused if you go behind an object, but in this instance, I hid behind the couch, I came back out, and it still was able to track me. Although in that same scene, sometimes the camera or the tracker had trouble reading my gestures, and that could be maybe because I was backlit and there wasn't enough lighting for me on the subject. So that's another thing to keep in mind. But for the most part, in a very well lit environment outdoors, the tracker performed very, very well. I haven't tried this at nighttime though, because low light footage on a phone isn't that great anyway, so I rarely shoot at night with a phone. But if you happen to try this at nighttime, let me know in the comments below how this tracker performs for you. I haven't tried this with two people. My guess is that the tracker would get confused if there were two people in the frame, and especially if there's just people walking around in and out of your scene. I think that would be a little bit more challenging for the tracker to keep you as the center of the tracking attention, as the center of attention, I guess. And along with that, you also can't be too far from the tracker because it'll be difficult for it to recognize your hand gestures. A cool thing about this tracker though is that the gimbal has 360 capability, so you're able to just walk around in a circle and then the tracker will track you and make a complete 360 pan on its own axis. So that's pretty cool. So the question is, should you upgrade to the Zhiyun Smooth 5S AI tracker version? If you shoot solo and if you would like some camera movement, if in your talking head shots, highly recommended, especially if you are a phone creator. You can make your talking head shots a little bit more engaging because you can walk and talk and have the camera follow you as you do that. Overall, it'll just make your shots more dynamic. So I'm very excited of what this technology means for the future ahead, because I hope Zhiyun does include some sort of similar tracker in some of the consumer gimbals that can take mirrorless cameras, because that would be really, really cool. Very good to pick up if you are primarily a solo creator and you would like some movement in your frame. And if you don't really need that, then you can just stick with the 5S. So that's it for today's video. Thanks so much for watching. As you can see, this space is coming along very well. I'll do a complete home studio tour very soon, so stay tuned for that. And before you go, here are a couple of videos you could probably watch next, and I'll see you there.